Hello, today we're gonna talk about SCP-096, also known as the Shy Guy. When an anomaly is first detected by the Foundation field agent, it's up to the Foundation's mobile task force to tag the entities before they can do any harm. Sometimes it can be eventful, sometimes not, especially when they are dealing with SCP-096, also known as the Shy Guy. A series of sightings and disappearance in the frosty mountains of Yukon first sparked the Foundation's interest. They were sure that they had an anomaly in their hand. Two retrieval teams, Zulu 9A and Zulu 9B, went to contain the entity. Zulu 9A took the lead in a heavy chopper equipped with 50 caliber heavy machine guns. They were prepared for anything, or so they thought. As they got the view of 096, they couldn't get a clear sight of the creature. It appeared to be stationary and docile. It didn't attempt any runaway. Piece of cake, right? Little did they know 096 was just looking away. If it was facing towards them, it would be a whole new nightmare, and Zulu 9A were about to find out. The team landed the helicopter next to the creature. They were shocked to see it was completely naked. Despite the cold temperatures all around them, the creature was unnaturally thin. It must have starved for weeks, with a bone-white skin with unnaturally long limbs. The team guessed that the creature's arm was 1.5 meters long. They thought it wasn't gonna be difficult to contain, that is, until they saw his face. Zulu 9A captain was a survivor of the nightmare. He was lucky enough to be looking away. While the creature turned towards his team, his squad ended up staring eye to eye with the creature, and from that moment on it wasn't docile anymore. The creature began to whimper and cry, then sob uncontrollably. It sounded like human. This sudden change scared Zulu 9A, and they opened fire on 096. Under the hail of gunfire, SCP-096 entered emergency and began tearing into the soldiers. The machine guns from the helicopter seemed to take some damage from the creature, but its skeleton fractures remained intact, and it continued to tear the soldiers apart. The AT-4 tank launcher didn't affect 096 while it was in his attack mode. After destroying the entire team, and then it returned to his docile mode. Nobody knows what the creature after did with Zulu 9A, because no trace of the team was left. Zulu 9B touched down soon after to get a grave warning from the captain not to look at the creature's face. And then they were finally able to subdue it. A bag was placed on SCP-096's face. Soon he was delivered to a nearby SCP Foundation. Little did they know they just obtained one of the deadliest SCP of all time. While it may be locked in a cell for now, it seemed like it would get out and cause more damage. SCP-096 was put on command of Dr. Dan. It was his job to find out what this beast is capable of. The more he tested, the more he knew they were dealing with a beast. Disposal D-Class personnel were used to figure out exactly what it was that made the creature to turn into his attack mode, just as it had in the retrieval mission. SCP-096 went crazy when the attending personnel saw his face. In this stage, it would enter unstoppable distress for 1 to 2 minutes, covering its face and wailing loudly. When the period of distress ended, the creature endlessly slaughtered everyone. He would rip the D-Class apart just like Zulu 9A. No trace of their bodies would be left behind. Dr. Dan was horrified because of this face death thing. Anyone that saw his face will be torn apart by 096. But Dr. Dan thought, will it be the same if someone saw his face from a photo, such as images or videos? Dr. Dan was desperate to find out more. D-Class personnel were brought in to be tested on. To frightening results, Dr. Dan found out that the creature did indeed enter its attack mode when people saw pictures or videos of SCP-096. The creature has a sense to find where his prey are, even if there is no way of knowing where they are at. It didn't matter for how far away or how many walls was placed between the viewer and the creature. Attack mode would still activate, and once it did, it seems nothing can stop the creature from hunting down the one who saw its face. With all this new data, special containment were told to keep the creature safely under lock and key. His cell was 5 meters steel cube with advanced pressure sensors and laser detectors. To make sure SCP-096 remained in its cell without risking anyone having contact with the creature's face, all cameras and video equipment were not allowed. Cracks and weekly checks for cracks and holes. Of course, none of this would stop SCP-096 if anyone somehow saw its face. In order to solve that little problem, Dr. Dan would need to continue his research to find a method to find for this creature's deadly glance. They needed to know what they were dealing with. But how could they when even a glance at a photo or video of the being meant certain death? A solution was proposed: creating an artistic representation of the creature's face, something that hadn't been tested. But how would they do that? Simple, they would get a D-Class with some artistic talent, and they found one who have been a tattoo artist before becoming the Foundation's guinea pig. Dr. Dan had a genius plan for keeping the D-Class alive long enough to finish the drawing. The D-Class would go inside a Batsphere diving ball several kilometers underwater and tens of kilometers away from SCP-096, so the D-Class was told to look at a photograph of the creature's face and replicate that image with a pencil. Dr. Dan confirmed that the creature would only enter its attack mode when someone sees his face by having the D-Class look at series of photos of the SCP's body parts one by one and finally the face. The D-Class started drawing and was scared of how creepy the creature was despite not knowing the deadly concept. SCP-096 sensed someone viewing its face and entered its attack mode. It broke out of containment easily and began running towards the D-Class as he finished his drawing, but he was already dead. The drawing made its way up to a researcher up in the surface. SCP-096 dived into the water and started swimming down towards the artist, and it got to the D-Class, and the D-Class got torn into shreds. SCP-096 was recaptured without any problems by the Surface Recovery Team Foxtrot 303A. And further tests of the drawing show artistic representation of SCP-096 were in fact harmless. From this experience we now know the creature has a long mouth with white eyes. Dr. Dan said SCP-096 was too dangerous to be left alive and requested permission from the Foundation to terminate the creature. The doctor request was rejected until it all started with a normal image. Well, now it has been redacted for your safety. In the image was a man taking a picture in the snow, and a small pixel of the image was SCP-096 taken unknowingly in the 1990s. One day they were looking at old photographs, when his eyes passed over the tiny pixel without even knowing he looked at SCP-096. And SCP-096 began entering his attack mode. It broke through his steel containment, causing the release of an agent, but he got through the agents like a piece of cake. And when he got outside he began running towards his prey. With Mobile Task Force chasing him, Dr. Dan was out of the country at the time, but he did leave a weapon for the Mobile Task Force to use against SCP-096. Project Scramble. It's a new technology created by Dr. Dan. The machine scrambles SCP-096's second face into a whole different face, preventing the deadly effects. But SCP-096 got to his prey, but the big problem was the scramble technology didn't work because small pixels of the creature's face would go to the eye of the Mobile Task Force before the machine scrambles its face. The mission turned into a death sentence, because SCP-096 destroyed almost the entire team as well as a number of civilians in town, including an infant and its entire family. It was a disaster made even worse by a final reflection. Dr. Dan and Dr. Lexi had them facilitated the entire breach and allowed the disaster to happen. Because Dr. Dan was hoping it would be enough motivation for the Foundation to destroy the creature. Anything that would give him the opportunity to kill this thing would be perfect. His plan worked and the SCP Foundation saw it his way. Once he figures out a way to kill the creature, he and himself would be terminated for his crimes against humanity. But considering how much damage SCP-096 is capable of causing to this day, the Foundation is looking for a way to kill the creature. And the last incident was caused by only 4 tiny pixels that caused a lot of life. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is it for today's video.